Welcome to Numismatics Hub, your ultimate destination for fascinating stories, rare coin discoveries, and all things numismatics. Join us as we explore the world of currency and uncover hidden treasures one coin at a time. In 1988, the 1-cent penny in the United States took on a new significance. As mundane as the penny might seem, the year 1988 marked a period of change, and hidden within the rolls of pennies in circulation that year were some incredibly rare and valuable coins. But let's not rush ahead. Let's start from the beginning. Imagine, for a moment, the hustle and bustle of 1988. The world was in the midst of change, technologically, politically, and culturally. The internet was still a distant dream, and the Berlin Wall was still standing. In the United States, President Ronald Reagan was serving his second term, and people were adjusting to a new era of politics and economics. The world was growing smaller, and yet, to most people, the penny was the same as it had always been. A simple, everyday coin. No one could have predicted that, a mere few decades later, some of these pennies would become the stuff of legend. Now, if you were alive during 1988, you may have thought little of the coin in your pocket, other than as something that always seemed to be cluttering up your wallet or jar. But what you might not have realized was that among the thousands, maybe even millions, of pennies minted that year, a select few were different, special in a way that could transform them from humble copper coins into the crown jewels of collectors. These rare pennies would, with time, become worth far more than their face value of just 1 cent. So, what made the 1988 penny so special? To understand that, we need to look back at the history of the US penny, its design, and its minting process. The 1-cent piece, also known as the penny, has been part of American currency since the late 18th century. But in 1988, the design was familiar. The coin featured the image of Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of American history and unity. The Lincoln cent had been in circulation since 1909 and was still the go-to design by the late 1980s. The obverse, or front side of the coin, displayed Lincoln's portrait, and the reverse showed the Lincoln Memorial, a national symbol of American values. While the design might not have changed, the process by which the penny was minted did. The U.S. Mint, responsible for producing coins, was always looking for ways to improve efficiency and quality. In 1988, pennies were primarily made from a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, which gave them their distinctive reddish-brown color. But the minting process was not without its quirks. In fact, it was this very process that would lead to some fascinating stories about pennies from that year. What makes the 1988 penny stand out are the small but crucial differences that set it apart from other years. These differences weren't easily noticeable to the naked eye, and that's part of what makes them so intriguing. There were minor variations in the design, die marks, and the minting process itself that would later become critical in identifying certain rare pennies that have since skyrocketed in value. But before diving into those specific differences, let's talk about the coins that most people saw in their change, the ones that most people used without giving them a second thought. To the average American, the 1988 penny seemed just like any other penny. It was issued in massive quantities, and many of those pennies remained in circulation for years, passing through countless hands and wallets, cash registers, and vending machines. A vast majority of these pennies were made with no distinguishing features that would set them apart. But in the sea of pennies minted that year, there was a small percentage, almost like a hidden treasure, that would eventually be recognized by collectors as being rare and valuable. What makes these rare pennies so special? It all comes down to a variety of factors that affect the quality and precision of the minting process. In 1988, some pennies were struck with errors or variations that make them highly desirable to collectors. One of the most notable errors involves a variety known as the double die penny. In these instances, the coin was struck twice by the die, causing the image to appear slightly doubled. This minor error, though subtle, was enough to make the coin stand out from the rest, and it's this type of error that sets the 1988 penny apart. The double die error is a result of a mistake during the minting process, where the die used to stamp the image of the coin onto the blank planchet misaligned slightly during the second strike. This causes a ghosting effect, where the features of the coin, like Lincoln's image and the lettering, appear twice in slightly different positions. This error is incredibly rare and can add substantial value to a penny that might otherwise be worth only 1 cent, but it wasn't just double die errors that made the 1988 penny special. there were other factors that contributed to its value. For instance, certain 1988 pennies were produced with subtle differences in the thickness of the coin or slight variations in the design due to worn or damaged dies. These small inconsistencies were largely unnoticed by the general public, but they were carefully scrutinized by coin collectors. Over time, these variations became known as varieties, and some of them would eventually be classified as rare and valuable. Now, let's fast forward to today. How does a coin that once circulated casually in the pockets of millions of Americans now command such incredible prices? The answer lies in the world of coin collecting and the rarity of the specific types of errors and varieties that were produced in 1988. Coin collectors, or numismatists, are constantly on the lookout for coins with unique characteristics, and the 1988 penny is one of those coins that has attracted significant attention. Over the years, the 1988 penny has become a sought-after item in the world of numismatics. Some of the rare pennies have been sold at auctions for staggering prices, with some fetching amounts in the tens of thousands of dollars. But one of the most astounding facts about the 1988 penny is that one particular coin, in mint condition, sold for a jaw-dropping $188,000. Yes, you read that correctly. A penny worth just 1 cent when it was first minted is now worth a small fortune. But what makes this particular penny so valuable? The penny in question was a rare variety with a double die error, and it was in pristine condition, an almost perfect example of this unique error. The combination of its rarity, its flawless preservation, and the highly coveted double die error made it the subject of intense bidding wars among collectors. This sale was a game-changer for the world of coin collecting, as it set a new benchmark for the value of the 1988 penny. And while not every 1988 penny is worth that much, it serves as a reminder that sometimes the smallest and most seemingly insignificant things can hold the greatest value. Who would have thought that a humble coin, created over 3 decades ago, could end up being worth more than a brand new car, a college education, or even a house in some parts of the country? But the story of the 1988 penny doesn't end there. As collectors continue to uncover more rare and valuable examples of this coin, the legacy of the 1988 penny grows. Whether it's the double die variety, an off-center strike, or other subtle variations, the 1988 penny will forever remain a symbol of how a little bit of history, a twist of fate, and a keen eye can turn something ordinary into something extraordinary. As we conclude this journey through the fascinating world of the 1988 penny, it's important to remember that the value of a coin is not always determined by how much it costs when it's first minted. Sometimes, it's the quirks of history and the errors that occur during production that make a coin truly valuable. The 1988 penny serves as a perfect example of this phenomenon, showing us that sometimes what seems like a simple, everyday object can be a hidden treasure just waiting to be discovered. So, the next time you find yourself holding a penny in your hand, think about the possibilities. Who knows? You might just be holding on to something worth more than you ever imagined.